Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning, everybody. You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. I'm gonna ramble for a bit, but before I get started with that, what today's video is going to be about, I happen to see there was a Reddit thread I was reading the other day, and people were kind of speculating on what effect the Modello cough is going to have on the real estate markets, right? And a lot of people think it's going to have no effect, or things are going to get back to normal before it's affected. Other people think, prices are going to get slashed like 50% like 2008. And people were kind of discussing this, and somebody said, I wonder if this will kind of change the patterns of where people want to live. And what they were kind of going at is, if you think about it, like way back in the day, probably like early 1900s, most people lived in like rural areas and on farms, and there was kind of a migration to the cities. And people live in the cities, and then probably sometime, depending on region of the country and particular city, sometime between like the 50s and the 70s or 80s, people started fleeing out of cities, going out to the suburbs, and we had suburban sprawl. And, probably sometime in the 90s, early 2000s, moving on till today, cities have become popular again, right? Cities are like, there's like a new vibrance in cities. Like, here in Chicago, a lot of neighborhoods that used to be pretty sketchy neighborhoods are like some of the hippest neighborhoods in Chicago, got dog bakeries and bistros and coffee shops. And we've seen that in a lot of different cities. Excuse me. So people were kind of speculating, and, right now there's, millennials and Gen Zs. I'm a millennial, but millennials and Gen Zs, we tend to prefer to live in cities, right? And, so basically kind of the discussion was, is this going to change behavior? Like, with everybody freaking out about their neighbor and worried about society collapsing, like, are people going to start valuing like their space and kind of the security and privacy that affords? And is there going to be a shift in terms of like where people want to live? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I don't necessarily know or think that's going to happen. I think it's probably too early to tell, but I thought it would be an interesting topic for discussion. Before we get into that, I figured we just kind of ramble a little bit. I saw a really funny meme the other day. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. It was something to the effect of, like, imagine if 10 years ago some stranger came up to you on the street and said, "Look, stranger, I don't have much time, but 10 years from now, Donald Trump, that guy from The Apprentice, he's going to be president. He's almost going to start a World War III over a Twitter beef with Iran. The Australian wildfires, Australia almost burns down, and a girl tries to save the country by selling pictures of her tits. Kobe dies, half the country comes together, the other half makes fucked up memes." And what was the other part of this? Then some guy bites the head off a bat, worldwide pandemic breaks down, 40% of the people think it's fake, 40% of the people are faking out, and 20% of the people think that it was started over 5G internet and Tom Hanks fucking kids. That's kind of the whole, like, androchrome conspiracy theory thing. But really funny meme, and I think it ends by saying something to the effect of, and the only guy who can save society is a homosexual meth head tiger owner in Arkansas. Referencing Tiger King, which is going kind of viral right now. If you haven't seen Tiger King, check it out. It's almost as if Netflix planned this whole pandemic. Netflix is putting out some fire right now. I finally, yesterday, after getting some stuff done, I sat down to make myself a little crock pot meal, and popped on, popped on Ozark. And we got Ozark out. We got Tiger King. So at least there's some good TV while everybody's cooped up. Strange times we're living in. I saw New York City is advising people on, I can't say, I keep wanting to almost say the word, on Modello cough safe sex practices. Modello cough is telling you, stop rimming and stop being rimmed. They put out this really weird guide about safe sex practices, and they're telling people to quit your rim jobbing activities. So that was kind of interesting. And then this weekend, it's, again, with these strange times, like, we're asking people to report on their neighbors. If you see a business that's open that you don't think should be open, call this number. If you see your neighbors having friends over, call this number. People are losing their freaking minds. And one thing that I think is kind of cool, like, and at least around me, I see a lot more people outside walking their dogs, taking their kids for walks, going for runs, going to nature preserves. And it seems like half the people are doing this, and the other half of the people are, like, freaking out about this. Like, how dare you go to a state park and go walk around? Like, I think nature activities and doing outdoor stuff is probably one of the safer things you can do. Check out, there's a r/coronavirus and an r/coronavirus US. And it's basically like just constant talk about coronavirus, which probably isn't good. Probably make you freak out, probably make you be paranoid. But on there, like, people are like, you realize that in a park, these particles could be blowing through the air. I went to, it was actually pretty cool. I went to this Midwin Nature Preserve. It's like a grasslands habitat for buffalo and bison. It's about an hour outside of the city out in Joliet. And it was pretty cool. I walked the 6-mile lap. I think I'm going to bring my bike out there later this week. But I walked a 6-mile lap around the place. Didn't come in contact with one person, even though it was kind of gloomy and a little bit rainy. It was beautiful weather. It was like almost 60-something. I think it might have even been low 60s. But, you know, I would encourage people to go out and enjoy the nice weather, man. You know, you got some time off work, take your dog to the park, go for a hike. Get out of the house. It's not healthy being cooped up in the house. Looks like this whole thing is going to be extended. I know initially what it was supposed to, the 15 days of relaxation or whatever we're in, was supposed to end April 8th. Looks like that's been moved out to April 30th. I was talking to my mom last night. She works at a nursing home or senior center, and apparently, like, her directors are telling her they don't expect all of them to be back in the office till August. And they were saying August as if that's optimistic. It's fucking insane to me that we're going to shut down the country for, what, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. We're going to shut down the fucking country for 7 months, and we're going to give people $1,200. That's fucking insanity. So I'm actually going to see a client right now. I got to do some stuff in their warehouse, take some product photos. This is not going to slow me down, nor is it even really at risk. Like, the warehouse I'm going to, there's literally like 2 guys who work back in the warehouse. There's maybe 1 or 2 people in the office. Like, I'm really not tripping about this whole thing. I'm pulling up to get my Dunkin' Donuts. You know, once Dunkin' Donuts closes, that's when the apocalypse is really upon us. But I'm going to pause this for a second while I get my Dunkin'. Oh, okay, guys. I had to stop and get some gas, too, so that really kind of threw me off. So where were we? I think I just finished my rambling. We're going to get into kind of the point of this video, and we are at 7 minutes. So we're like 3 to 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Normally I ramble for like 12 minutes before I get to the point. So I guess let's start by saying millennials and Gen Zs enjoy cities, right? We like living in cities. We don't like suburbs. And, you know, kind of where I'm going with this, I think in business and as an entrepreneur, it pays to kind of spot trends and to try to, you know, predict where things are going to go and kind of be ahead of what other people are doing. So I think that's kind of a fun thing to do. I'm always kind of looking for an angle or kind of looking for a change in people's consumer behavior, etc. And so I saw a post on Reddit that kind of got me thinking about this. I just thought it'd be interesting to explore in kind of a rambling video. So the trend has been millennials and Gen Zs enjoy living in cities, right? They don't want to live in cookie cutter houses in the suburbs. They don't want a McMansion, nor can we afford McMansions because, you know, a lot of us graduated following the Great Recession, affected job prospects, etc. You know, I've done a couple videos on this. We don't have nearly as much wealth, investments, homes, etc. as Gen Xers or Boomers, you know, at the same time in our lives. So, you know, we can't, you know, most of us can't afford these McMansions and things like that once the baby boomers retire or downsize. And 2, it's just not really, you know, what we want. It's not really what fits our lifestyle choice. And so one thing that I was kind of curious about, because if you think about it right now, the youngest boomers are like 55, 56, I think it is. The oldest ones are 55 to 65, 60, 20 years, 75. So the 75-year-olds probably right now are downsizing. Over the course of the next 10 years, the younger of the boomers are going to be, you know, downsizing, going into senior care homes, some of them, you know, dying off, you know, some of them just downsizing homes, moving to condos and things like that. And one thing that I was kind of curious and wondered about is, like, who's going to buy their homes? Like, most millennials and Gen Zers who at that phase would be at a point in their lives when they're buying bigger homes, growing their families, you know, upsizing homes. The millennials and Gen Zs who would typically be buying those homes really don't have an interest in those homes, don't necessarily have the money to buy those homes, don't want to live in sprawled out suburbs where those homes are. So I was like, well, fuck, what's going to happen is the housing market going to get hit with like an influx of homes, and, you know, just due to the laws of supply and demand, that's going to drive housing prices down. I thought it would be interesting to see kind of how that played out. But now, with this whole thing happening, and like, you know, this is what that Reddit post was saying, or that Reddit comment was saying, is this going to change people's behavior? You know, right now, when people are fighting over toilet paper and scared of their neighbors and trying to stay away from people, do you want to be in a 70-story condo living with 3,300 other people in the same building where you're all touching the same elevators and things like that? Or would you rather have a house in the suburbs where you're a little bit more spread out? Or even more so, would you like to have a house out on the outskirts of town or even in a rural area way away from everybody? Now, this might be a little bit premature. Maybe we come out of it. You know, I actually think we are going to come out of this and things are going to recover pretty quickly. But if things are crazy for a while, like, is there going to be a movement of people out of cities to, you know, safer areas, more space, etc.? See that guy coming this way? I think that'll be interesting to see. One is, do people start to value, that guy's kind of an asshole speeding up. Are people going to start to value kind of their space and privacy and kind of the security that space brings? Or are people going to continue living the way that they've kind of enjoyed living thus far? And another thing, is this going to forever change the way that we interact with one another and forever change the way that we live? And what I mean by that is some crises, how do you say what's the plural of crisis? Is it crisis or is it crises? Some crises change our behavior for a short period of time and we just kind of bounce back to how we were. And other crises have, I don't think that's how you say it, other crises have lasting effects. So if you look at the 2008 housing crash, you know, banks said, we're not going to lend so frivolously, but over the years they've lightened up their lending standards. People said, you know, excuse me, people said, I see the value of having an emergency fund. We can't live in all this debt. I'm going to stop running up credit cards. And people did that for a few months to a few years, and then everybody kind of settled back into their normal consumer behavior. So there's an example of a crisis kind of changing how we lived for a little bit of time, but then us kind of reverting to how we were. Or you could look at something like 9/11, and that's had lasting effects. You know, here we are, 9/11, so it's been, about 9 years later. 9 years later, every time you go through the airport, you got to take off your stupid shoes and take off your stupid belt and put all your stuff in a tray and open your laptop while some TSA person screams at you. That's a lasting effect from 9/11 that will never go away. And, you know, in a lot of other ways, the world hasn't changed, hasn't reverted back to how it was post 9/11. So some crises have lasting effects, and other ones we kind of pop back from. So what'll be interesting to see is, after all this Modello cough stuff is done with, are people going to return to their gyms? Are people going to start going to movies again? Are people going to start going to sporting events? Are people going to start rimming each other again and going back to orgies? I'm being silly here, but are people going to return to bars and nightlife and concerts and things like that? Or is everybody, you know, has this forever changed people and people are going to be scared of their neighbors? And if that's the case, you know, a lot of the draw of being in the city is being around people, right? And a lot of the draw of being in the city is interesting ethnic restaurants, theater, nightlife, music, sporting events, street festivals. And if we're all scared of our shadow and nobody wants to be within 6 feet of anybody ever again moving forward in the future, cities kind of lose their appeal, right? Like, you're kind of willing to put up with living on top of people and kind of all the other negatives that come with being in a city, because of all the activities and amenities and everything that it has to offer. But if all that goes away, are cities really that attractive anymore? So kind of the idea of this was like, is this going to change how we live, where we live, and therefore the real estate market? Just kind of an interesting kind of like mindfuck topic to kind of think about. So would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. That's all I really got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. One positive thing about this Modello cough, I've had a little bit of extra time on my hands. I'm actually still pretty busy, man. I'm still going out to see clients. I gotta go help with an inventory today, then do some work on some Shopify themes, and I did kind of lose one client, and it was actually kind of at my behest. I told the guys, you know, I'm getting them a lot of leads, I'm getting a lot of appointments, but everybody's canceling or pushing appointments back. And I said, look, you know, I said, we're spending a decent amount of money on ads per day. Nothing's really come of it. Probably any day now you're going to wind up getting a directive to shut down from the state or your licensing agency. I said, let's just, you know, I said, put my pay on hold, put my pay on hiatus. You know, I'll stop all the ads and we'll just kind of shut things down for a couple weeks. So I'm doing that with one of my clients. Most of them, most of my people are either in like the health space, e-commerce, etc. So things are still trucking along as normal, and I hope it stays like that. Because while I do have an emergency fund and some savings, I don't want to rely on checks from the government for $1,200 to last me for 7 months. So I'm keeping along business as usual. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later, guys.